Good morning, boys and girls. I think I told you that instead of vocabulary this week, it will be poetry terms or types of poetry that are combined with our grammar lesson. And so today and tomorrow, both Monday and Tuesday, we're going to be talking about the kind of poem called alliteration. Alliteration. And as we remember, Tion says shun. Alliteration. Alliteration is the kind of poem where words that begin with the same letter or sound. So the words in the poem are going to begin with the same letter or sound. Now, that doesn't mean every single word. There's going to be little words like the, of, and that might not begin with the same letter or sound. But most of the words in the poem will begin with the same letter or sound. All right, so the example that we're going to read together is right down here at the bottom. And you've probably heard this rhyme before. It goes, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, how many pickled peppers did Peter Piper pick? So what was the letter or sound that they used in that alliteration poem? Yes, it was P. So sometimes people call these type of poems tongue twisters, because if you say it really fast, it kind of twists your tongue. So I'm going to say it, I'm going to read it again. I'm going to go a little bit faster. If you want to try to do it with me, you can. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, how many pickled peppers did Peter Piper pick? Now, I can do it pretty fast because I've said this alliteration poem many, many times in my life. Sometimes the books that Dr. Seuss writes are with alliteration. And during Dr. Seuss week, when I read some Dr. Seuss books, remember I would say, oh, that's kind of a tongue twister. So today, for our vocabulary word, we are using the word alliteration. And what I'd like you to do is to get a piece of paper and pencil or a notebook if you have a notebook that you're using for vocabulary. And I would like you to write a sentence using alliteration. Now, the sentence that I used, or the sentence that they used for an example, is Polly plants peppers. The sentence I used is bumblebees buzz by. Sometimes if you have a hard time thinking of a sentence, you can try using the first letter of your name and try to think of things that you like that begin with that letter. So for instance, if your name were Mary, you might write something that says, oh, I had an idea here. Now, where did it go? Maybe you would write, Mary met Molly the mole. Okay, remember we read a little poem about a mole. Mary met Molly the mole. So think about the first letter of your name and try to write an alliteration, maybe just 3 or 4 words that begin with that letter. You can pause the video while you do that. Are you back? Okay, so now it's time for our grammar part of alliteration, and I want to read you a poem out of our book called Thunder Underground, and that's actually the name of the poem, Thunder Underground. Thunder underground, that's the sound beetles make when walking round. Squeaky like a creaky door, clicking, clacking, muffled roar. Beetles on the underfloor, scritch, scratch, scrunch. That's the crunch of beetles eating beetle lunch. All roots, no punch. So they're eating the roots of this plant, as you can see. No punch, just the roots. Now this poem isn't really an alliteration, but there are some words in there that begin with the same sound. And we're going to go ahead and look at those words and see if we can find words in our poem that begin with the same sound. Okay, so I've made a copy of the poem, and if you have a printer, you can print it out. If you don't, then you can just pull it up on your computer page and look at it, follow along as we go along. And it is the poem that we just read together, Thunder Underground. And what we're going to do with this poem is we're going to underline highlight some of the words that begin with the same letter or sound. Okay? I'll give you an example. Thunder underground, that's the sound beetles make when walking round. Squeaky like a creaky door, clicking, clacking, muffled roar. Beetles on the underfloor. So creaky, clacky, clicking, clacking. Those all start with the C that makes the K sound. Let's go down to this one. Scritch, scratch, scrunch. That's the crunch of beetles eating beetle lunch. All roots, no punch. Okay, so those are the alliteration words that are in there. Creaky, clicking, clacking, and scritch, scratch, scrunch. Okay, on the other side of that prompt, or that poem, there is a page that looks like this. Let me get it up here for you. Okay, can you see it? And it says ant, bird, cat, dog. So what do you think I want you to do with this one? Now, if you print this out, you can go ahead and cut the flaps open like a flap book, like we do at school. If you don't print it out, you might want to just get your own piece of paper and fold it hot dog style. And then write these 4 words and cut it into fourths. First graders, you just learned about how to cut it into fourths, right? Okay, so our top piece is ant. And it even gives you a clue of another word that starts with A that you could use in your poem. There's a picture of an apple there, okay? So what is an alliteration that we could write with the short A sound, ah? That would be ant and apple. Let's see. Can you think of something that you could write? How about an ant ate an apple? Now you'll notice that the word ate is a long A. These are all short. An ant ate an apple. Remember that I said it was okay to have a couple of little words in that did not start with the same sound? I want you to do the next one for bird, and you can also use the word balloons if you want to. Would you write an alliteration where all the words start with B, like bird and balloon. And would you show that to somebody in your family? We're just going to do A and B today, and then tomorrow when we come back, we'll do C and D. All right? Thanks for joining me for that. See you later. Bye.